Quiet on the set. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Welcome to Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about anything and everything that's come across our genia desks in the last couple of weeks since we met. I refer to myself as your not so retired friend in genealogy, but boy, um, RootsTech, I was working overtime. That's how it is at those kind of conferences. So on the docket today are a number of things. First of all, I just want to mention on Wednesday, and I'll share my screen, we're finally going to be able to meet with Tanea Koons, and it's the Wacky Wednesday Junk Journaling Workshop. You will recall that I think it was Barbara talked with her about, or maybe I can't remember. All I know is she told us about her junk journaling, and we decided to have a hands-on workshop where she and I will both have our cameras focused on our, not this desk, but the one in my studio, the one in her studio. And we're inviting people to come and work on a page or two in their journals just to get the hang of it. It's so fun. It's about what's happening in your life. So I'm really looking forward to that event. Let's see who's out there. Okay. So Bev is here from Victoria, just up the way from old Myrt here. There's the world's greatest neighbor. Hi, Claire is in the middle of the country. Yes, we're going to talk briefly about, well, on and off about RootsTech, so don't worry. And Frank and I figured out that we live at about the same level around the world. So when I'm having 43 degrees, he has 43 degrees. Hello, Betty Lou. Let's see if you're there. Yeah. Oh, that's Gwenny. And here's Betty Lou. Good to see you. I saw John Cunningham somewhere, and Valerie has 10 inches of snow. So, yeah. It's cold in central Iowa. Thank you, Sherry, for holding down the fort on the YouTube side. Kyla's here. Good to see you. 85 yesterday, and now it's 42. That is jerking you around, isn't it, kiddo? I appreciate that. And Marcia's here. Little breezy in Kansas. Oh, yeah, breezy. I hear you. Yeah, there's the 10 inches of snow comment. Bill's on the panel. Well, as far as the panel's concerned, well, let's say hello to Barbara at Project Kin. But let's pull the panel up. So Hillary, hi, good to see you. Let's hear your mic.
You can hear me okay?
Yep, it works perfectly. Randy, let me hear you, dear.
I'm here again. It's warm here.
Okay, Bill.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, you might want to turn your mic up slightly or yell at old Myrt here.
Okay, I can.
No worries. Frank, our guy in, well, Hillary's in Wales. Randy's in California. Bill's in upstate NY, New York. Frank's our guy in Germany. Let me hear your voice, dear.
How's that?
Okay, it's good. And Ellen, I don't know why you came here. Just to escape the snow?
Escape the snow, but it's getting too hot.
Yeah, it's going to be like 100, 105 in Arizona this week.
Yep.
I know because
I'll be hiding out my park model.
I don't blame you. And then Miles, our guy in Florida.
Yep. How's it going?
Good. And so I got to see Kyla, who's in the audience, and Miles at RootsTech, and a whole bunch of other really neat people. But what we're going to do next, Frank, if you'd remove everyone to the wings except for Hillary, I'm going to share my screen because something special happened to Hillary, and I would like to let you all know about it. Hillary was honored as the member of the week over at one of her favorite places to hang out, which is WikiTree. So this is your, well, you're a project coordinator, and it happened to be England and Wales, and we know that's your research area. Talk to me about what happened. I came late to the party on Saturday morning because of the time zone thing. I messed up.
Yeah. I was interviewed by one of the other members, one of the team members that normally does the Saturday live roundup, and they'd already got obviously, but what I'd written about, what I'd answered the questions that I got sent. So I filled in quite a bit, like, how did I get interested in, and all those sort of fairly standard questions, and what I do on WikiTree, which is quite a bit.
You do quite a bit. And isn't a Connectathon coming up soon, or is that
yes, there's a Connectathon in early April. I think might even be the first weekend in April. It's fairly soon. Yeah. I'm signed up and I'm co-captaining the team that we have for new members. This is new members that have sort of got less than 3,000 contributions can join that team, and we Betsy, who is the other co-captain, has a Zoom thing prior to the thon usually, to just help people catch up with the important things about adding in profiles in the Connectathon.
Well, I so wish that Family Search had what you all have at WikiTree, which is a very dedicated set of people like you, although I think you're an overachiever, who do help people flesh out their ancestry and figure out how to do the bio and do it so that it all works. Because I'm finding, honestly, more accuracy in the WikiTree One Big Tree than I am at the One Big Tree at Family Search. But all trees are useful for suggestions, avenues of research. So, and you like puzzles. Mr. Myrt knew that he loved you. Now he definitely knows. I'm sure.
Yeah, I like puzzling things out. One of the things I actually do is I belong to, I'm obviously one of the ambassadors for WikiTree, and I belong to one of the groups called Link Builders, and we build links for WikiTree on other sites. Family Search is one of the ones which I tend to do most of the time, more than any of the others. And if I've got profiles on Family Search for people that I am putting I've got WikiTree profiles, I'm putting a link into the sources on the Family Search tree to the WikiTree profile. So if anybody comes across the WikiTree, a thing with a WikiTree thing on it, you can click on that and it will take you to the page of that person on WikiTree, and it might give you some hints. There might be, hopefully, when I'm a lot of the time when I do it, I copy a lot of the stuff over from Family Search, and then I add more that you can't get necessarily on the Family Search thing. Like, some people can add ancestry things and whatever, but I just don't tend to be able to. I could do it, but it's a lot of faff, so I don't tend to do it. I tend to put it in the WikiTree profiles because I can do it easily.
You're so used to that format too. Well, both you and Randy are great examples of sharing your genealogy on both your personal genealogy up on Family Search, and I like the idea of connecting it to your, putting a link to your WikiTree, because, as you say, that's where your latest, greatest, most I was going to say pronounced, but your biggest. I'm having wonderful word challenges today. That's where the best information is about your ancestor. How about that? Is that a fair judgment?
Yeah, I try to do it as much as possible, have the WikiTree one better, because I can access things, transcriptions on some of the other websites, certainly for my English ones, and any Welsh ones might be better transcription than you've got on Family
I
Search
get it.
one and that sort of thing. And not everybody's going to be able to see all the images on Family Search. A lot of them you can't see unless you're at a Family Search library. Or you're a member of the LDS Church, so therefore you've got to have other things. We take advantage of the fact that you can have a small image of like ancestry profiles on WikiTree as well.
I get it.
Yeah.
So Barbara is saying thank you for all that you do, and so so Barbara just made that connection work. The work she added to Family Search will carry over to WikiTree. Part of your of the things they've asked you about in your write-up here was how you are using DNA to solve an unknown second great grandfather. And I've got your blog post about that, but I'd really like to talk with you about what is the problem you're trying to solve. Let me pull just you and me up for a minute. So you got this second great grandfather. Is he elusive? You're not sure who it is? Is it unknown parentage? What are we dealing with?
Well, in that post, I am trying to discover who is the father of my great grandfather, one of my maternal great grandfathers. I've got two maternal great grandfathers who were illegitimate. In other words, only their mothers appear on their birth certificates, not the fathers. And when I did my DNA test, at least one of those I feel I've probably broken down and worked out who it is, because I had so many DNA matches with people that were descendants of either that person or somebody else in that shared DNA, that would have shared DNA with that person or whatever.
Convincing you of such, yeah.
And I then managed to find a record which said that there was obviously had been some connection with this person, or all I would say is, though, the only thing I haven't got on that record is I haven't got the person's age to actually be certain that 100%. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to double check that all of those, the amount of shared DNA is sufficient to justify it. I think basically to make sure that there's not another person with the same name in that area that could have been. I don't think there was. I know there were other people with the same name around and that, but I don't think they were around in the area at the right time. And I've now today found another record for that. That I'm sure refers to that person, that would make me think that I'm fairly certain that I've got the right person.
It's more convincing with every document, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Cousin Russ used to always say he'd try to disprove a relationship, and then he would run into these documents like this. And Maria, the world's greatest neighbor, is saying that WikiTree helped her verify a problem a neighbor of hers was having in their family search tree back in the 1700s. Someone in the family had attached the brother of the person as if he were the father. That's, there are problems in any kind of a tree. I know that the work that I've done since WikiTree worked on my lineage is, I know that you can't help but be human and sometimes make a mistake. What we've got is our current thinking until new evidence comes along that may prove or disprove the relationship that I've documented. And in your case, the relationship you've been assuming, it looks like it's going to work out. And Ellen, who's in the wings now, says, oh, yes, I remember this challenge she had from a study group we did. Beaten Batten mystery using DNA. her great-grandfather was adopted, and it was DNA that helped her solve who his parents are. Now, you do have your DNA class today, but you're staying and you're my co-host today, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's just
We,
that when do you guys go on daylight savings time?
not till the end of the month.
Okay.
The last weekend in the month. The
Okay.
document that I found, I've actually got it screen shared if you want
Oh,
to
okay.
share
Let
it
me
with the
pull it up.
audience.
Yeah, let me do that. Just a second. Remove this and add this one and get it in there. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
zoom in. So
Yeah.
where are we?
If you look at this line number 15, oh, I think it's, yeah, oh no, it's above where the 15 is. It's for Samuel Jeffrey.
I
So,
see Samuel Jeffrey, 25.
yeah, he's age 25. Now, this is dated in, the year of this document was 1834, and the Samuel Jeffrey that I was looking at was born in 1809, which age 25 makes him the right age.
Oh, yeah.
He was born in Sherborne. Shall I try and make this a bit bigger on my screen?
You can. You're on a, yeah. That helps. I swear that middle column looks like carpenter. I thought it said computer. I was going to say, wow, he was way
carpenter.
ahead of his age.
Yeah,
They have time.
carpenter fits with his occupation that I've got on the later censuses.
Yes.
I know he was single at that time. He hadn't married. He didn't marry until 1838 for the first time.
Okay.
Now, the next one is the person that was there. But the interesting thing is, right, there's a ditto there.
Oh, ditto.
And see what's above.
So
And
we see him in the
obviously,
bastardy bonds.
yeah, obviously, at some point prior to him getting married, he'd already fathered a child outside of wedlock. So the fact that my great grandfather was born outside of wedlock means he may have done the same thing again. We don't know the reason for them not getting married, because there was actually marriage banns read for my great grandmother and Samuel Jeffrey, but we don't know why they didn't get married. But obviously, we got together before there was any marriage. So,
well, that often happens. The first baby comes along a little earlier, like me to my parents, which I can say since they both passed away, and my siblings aren't concerned about that either. In Germany, in Warren Bittner's lineage, he has a class that he's taught, Bittner Bastards of Bavaria, where you had to pay to have a marriage take place. You had to pay for the christening of children, and the couple had numerous children. I think it was like 5 before they all those children got christened at once following the marriage of their parents much later in life. And then I want to mention this from Betty Lou, because overseas research, I mean, it depends on the country, what's going on. In this case, she's noting that we know she does Italian research, that there's not much DNA testing going on over there. So she's having trouble dealing with her research conundrum just for lack of a gene pool of testers. So interesting. Yeah, much more difficult. And hi, Bobby. I'm glad you made it. I saved a seat for you, kiddo. All right. Well, thank you very much, Hillary. We're going to talk to you in a little bit. We're going to switch gears, and let's bring everybody up on the panel, if you would, please, Hillary, since you're my hostess with the mostest for the day. I wanted to mention what happened at RootsTech and at the booth. And we had a Genia Bloggers Project Kin booth that was the ride along, where we had a collaboration. And one thing that Barbara did was involve those who were not at RootsTech. And and kept them involved. And then I got to meet with people that were our Project Kin people or our Geneabloggers people at our booth in the Society Pavilion. It was advertised to us as Society Hall, but we are adaptable. It's just a name, and we know how names don't count. Spelling doesn't count. And most people were intrigued by our big screen TV that was bigger than our table. Our table was 4 feet wide and about 2.5 feet deep. And they wanted to know what I was doing because I had my phone hooked up to it was on a little tripod, so that as I sat there, I could interview people. And they'd come and sit by me, and I got some pretty interesting interviews. So they wanted to know who were these people in the background. And almost always when I turned around, it was Barbara, so I could mention Project Kin. And so there were two types of people that came to the booth: bloggers who are already blogging. I saw one podcaster. Two people were videographers. Neither of them live streamed. They recorded and then uploaded to YouTube, which is perfectly fine. And then the other big collection of people that came to see what we were doing, they knew they needed to share their family history. And their daughter or somebody at the Genealogy Society locally said, you should set up a blog, but they didn't know how to do it. So I promised that group that this week and in 2 weeks on the 30th, I'd do a setting up of a blog. Now, y'all know that I have done the blogger thing. It's all I can do to do Mondays with Myrt, basically, nowadays. You know that Randy is on Blogger, and he does stuff on Substack. Most of us are on Substack. Bill, I met you because of Substack. Miles, you're strictly Blogger right now, aren't you?
Yes.
Frank is thinking about reactivating his blog, right? Is that a good way to put it, dear?
Actually, no. I'm actually thinking about switching over to Substack and kind of reactivating it.
Okay, cool. And Hillary, your two blogs are on Blogger, are they not?
Yeah, well, I've actually got a one on
We Are XYZ.
I'm doing stuff on We Are XYZ, but I've also got my one name one is on the other platform, which I can't remember the name of.
Okay. I have days like that. You saw me stumbling for the words earlier, so I totally get that.
Yeah, I've got one for my one name study, but I haven't used it for a heck of a long time. I need to. Well, to be honest, I haven't used my other blogs that much either.
I think a lot of us go through stages of our research where sometimes we're doing a lot of research and then we don't do as much. Probably Randy is the most consistent blogger on the face of the earth in probably most genres, not just genealogy. But let's get over to why I'm going to show how to set up a blogger blog. To a person, I mean, I've sat there with the blank sheet on my clipboard and I took notes on what they told me. It was the recipes their grandmother had. Somebody suggested that would be better digital rather than paper format, because each of the women who were granddaughters and had children who were setting up their household, and now they'd have to make a photocopy if it was a paper type book of recipes. So digital made sense. That's the challenge. to a person, none of them had heard of Substack. Okay, so but these people had people around them that knew how to use Blogger, and I'm thinking, okay, we know how to give tech support, but we're not always there. So the greatest number of support personnel available to new bloggers, aside from coming to our monthly meetings at Genia Bloggers, etc., would be to just set up a Blogger blog and worry about Substack in a secondary position to add a different outlet, like Randy does. Ellen, are you also still blogging on your regular blog
Yeah.
and cross-posting? How do
Yeah,
you
I
do
blog
that?
on WordPress and then cross post on Substack.
Okay, and are you doing the? I started using the phrase tantalizing 2 sentences and then the link with a graphic on
Sometimes
Substack.
it's almost the whole thing, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so that's why I'm going to demonstrate how to do Blogger. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll share my screen. Man, it is so light colored. I wish they would still do dark colors, dark text instead of gray. Now, over the years, I've had a number of blogs and they are still, I could still do them. But when you first go to blogger.com, you sign in with a Gmail account. And if you do not have a Gmail account, you should have one because it gives you all kinds of free space, free access to this Blogger. And you would find it here in the little hamburger icon, and somewhere along here is Blogger. You'd have to look for it. But anyway, you just go to blogger.com, and I want to create a new blog from scratch, and it's at the bottom of the list. So I'm going to click new blog, and you only have to do about 3 things. Think of a title that is unique. So you can't pick Dear Myrtle and you can't pick Genia Musings because we've got those taken. Let's see, grandmother's recipes. Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to show you how to fix it if you can't spell correctly. We'll click next. And apparently there's a difference between what you call it and what the actual URL is. So let's okay, grandma's is not available. Let's see if recipes is available. Not available. So let's find well, Francis recipes. That's invalid. And part of it is because there's a space. Okay, we finally, in teeny tiny little letters right here. Let me zoom in. It says this blog address is available. That's because this will be your unique space on the web. Just like Ancestry.com is a unique space on the web, separate and distinct from Family Search or Find My Past or My Heritage. This will be the recipes. francisrecipes.blogspot.com. Now, some people pay extra, but this is a free website when it says .blogspot.com, and it is perfectly okay. So we're going to click save because this address is available. It took us 3 or 4 tries to get there till we found one, and we're going to click save. Okay, so here's some notices, and you will get notices periodically, not all that often, but anyway. we are going to actually go and create a post. Now, there's all kinds of other things we can do, but right now, and there's also the option to manage something. But anyway, create new post. Now, I'm going to get rid of these things just to make it easier. Does this look like email where you have a subject line? They call it a title. So you could type ginger snaps. Boy, I'm having typing challenges. And notice that you've got redo and undo, different paragraph formats or headings, subheadings. It's just paragraph format if that's what you can do. But number one most important thing to do is to look either in your Google Photos, upload from your computer. Maybe you already have it on Blogger if you already have if you've already been blogging at this address for a long time, or by URL. I never do by URL because if it's a remote place and that remote place goes away, I'm sunk. Like for the longest, well, not going into great detail there. Let's upload from the computer. I have to allow Google access to my photos. That's okay. Now we can drag and drop or literally browse for photos. So I'm going to save a little privacy stuff here and just drag and drop. So I'm off screen. I'm opening my file manager and I will go down to the genealogy folder to find Francis's picture. Okay, that's under genealogy data and Goring because I want her childhood picture. And I'm going to drag and drop this photo. And it should come up shortly. Okay, so there's a picture at the very tippy top of my photo, of my blog post. That's how easy it is to get a photo up there. Notice I have a citation. This is a miracle that I happen to pick that one. So Grandmother Frances here that's who this whole blog is about. And this individual post is about a ginger snaps recipe. And she got it from her mother. So one of the things that should happen is I should have Frances Irene Goring and her, that's Grandma Frances. I give up. And we should also have Estelle May Phillips Goring. Okay. Now, those are the two names of the individuals. Now, why did I bother to take time to put this in here instead of a paragraph? Obviously, it's to point out that these two things, having a, let me close this, having a photo increases the likelihood that Google will share the link to this post. It's called search engine optimization when you play the game of putting a photo, and I always have it at the tippy top, and when you add names and places. So we need to say, I can't remember the place in Iowa. Oh, yeah. Sheraton, and I don't know the county. And then put the time period. So 19, she was born in 06, 7, 8. So we'll say 1909. Now, why do you want to have the 1909? So if a person is searching for Gorings in Iowa in 1810, I don't know that there actually were any there, but if they were working on Gorings in 1810, they may or may not be excited about coming to your blog because you're saying 1903 or 1908 or 1909. It could be enticing. Now, these can be in a sentence. What's on the photo is not being crawled. That text, that's that's my citation, that is not being crawled. So the fact that I have Frances Irene Goring and her mother Estelle May Phillips Goring up there is just a graphic as far as Blogger is concerned. You've got to have text about who the post is about and the time period and where they are in Iowa. And apparently it says more about me living on Guimas Island. All right. So I want to ask the panelists, what else could I be doing here? So let me pull back and go to the panelists. Did we lose Hillary? No, there she is. Okay. Raise your hand. Jump in here. I mean, obviously, I haven't done paragraphs or anything, but go ahead, Randy.
I would make the image as big as you can. I usually use extra large.
Okay. All right. So, it's medium right now. Let's see what happens with extra large.
You're not showing your screen.
Yeah. All right, I'll show how I changed that. Thank you. Okay, when you click on it, there's some options. Let me tell it back to go
The
back.
gears at the top.
Yeah. Apparently we've got to, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I'd enlarge it so much I couldn't think. Right now, by default, the picture's centered, and Randy likes them extra large. Okay. All right. Now let's see if we lose some. We're losing a little clarity. It's a little grainy, but why do you like it extra large?
In this case, so you can read the caption.
Oh, okay. Well, it's much harder for you all inside of the Zoom to see it because, or we're not on Zoom, StreamYard, just because of the nature of the StreamYard view. If you're looking at it on YouTube on full screen, they would have been able to read it pretty well. That's just something peculiar. Okay, who else has got something? Is that okay? Miles, what's your suggestion?
Yeah, so I always make sure under the labels that I put in, like the last names or even the full names of those individuals so that it becomes searchable.
Okay, so okay, explain what you mean.
Yeah, over on the right-hand side, it says post settings and labels.
Oh, you want to do labels.
And so
okay.
Separate labels by commas. I
Okay.
usually add in the topics that are covered in that
Okay,
topic.
so I'm trying to just do the easy stuff. It is possible for you to add labels of the surname because then you can even make tabs just for the Goring family, for instance. But I don't want to scare people away from blogging. That's just one of the options over here. Okay, so we'll put Goring and Phillips. Because these are only my grandmother and my great-grandmother. Okay. And I wonder why it's coming up with an Australia location. You could put it there. All right. Anybody else? It's interesting that I live here. My computer is obviously in the Pacific time zone, and it put me all the way down into Australia. There is part of I give up. So people are asking questions. Does Blogger count toward Google's overall memory space like all other? Of course, yes. And thank you, Randy, for answering that. I've paid extra for Google Drive, but then Randy and I have been blogging for a million years. He is millions of posts ahead. Sounds like we could do a Blogger 101 and 102. Yeah. Next week, we're also going to talk about a few more things. So I'm going to go ahead and just publish this, but I can preview it, which is something that's kind of intriguing. So let's see what the preview looks like. Now, all of this background, and let me zoom out just a little so you can see it better, because I zoomed in to 175%. Okay, that was a default template. The text is default. The date is, the format of the date is by default. So a person could be blogging on and on forever. And here's the tablet view and the smartphone view. Without changing any of those settings. Okay. This is a problem, though, Project Ken. I want to talk about this. You could, let's keep it simple, first of all. You could, in fact, create a unique Google account just for the blog that gives you free space. And 15 gigabytes is a lot. But when you get communication, you better be very good at following that Gmail account. When you get communication in the way of comments from that cousin that you haven't met yet, you want to act on it right away. So then you have to go into complicated things like setting up a forwarding. It's not unusual for you to do something like that. But we're talking about beginning bloggers. And I'm trying to keep it down to the basics. I don't want to scare them off. I mean, they can live with that background for 10 years and do just fine. The point is, get the message out. Now, I will tell you this, folks. Let me pull everybody back up. I happened to do the more complicated thing of setting up a Google alert. It's not complicated. It's just another thing to do. And I want these beginning bloggers to name their blog, remember what the URL is, francisrecipes.blogspot.com, so they can share it with their family. And not worry about mail forwarding and Google alerts. But it happened that I set up a Google alert, and literally within less than 5 minutes of posting on Blogger, which is owned by Google, Google had come in and spidered, and I got a Google alert with that post. And it was because I signed everyone, Dear Myrtle, Happy Family Tree Climbing, Myrt, Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. That was a word that I knew would appear in every single blog post. So if somebody's searching for Dear Myrtle, or they're searching for Goring, or they're searching for whatever name you put on that page as you fill in the recipe, that's one of the doorways that people will find you, because arguably they're using Google for their search engine. It's the most popular one. Yeah, I'm aware of 50 million options, but I'm cutting it down to the bare minimum. So what's in the heart, the brain, and the soul of those 5, 6 researchers that I dealt with who knew they need to do a blog, had never done one before? I gave them the bare minimum: a photo, the name, the location, and the time period. Then tell the story. Now, you could tell the story with it. You don't have to just list the names at the top. It can be in the narrative, in the paragraphs, and you can add more than one image per page, like Randy does. Because Randy's very good at showing us this is this part, and then here's the next step, and then here's the next step. Yeah, Valerie says, beginners to blogging don't start perfect. They get the basics down first, then get the corrections down a short time later. We're looking at a big elephant and we're taking baby steps, or we're eating it one bite at a time. Very good.
1 minute.
So Laura's saying the Blogger doesn't count towards your Google Drive storage. Yes, it does, because the graphics that you're adding that increase your search engine optimization go into your Google Drive. So we have to think about that. Okay. All right. So next time when we get together, I will show you how to customize the look on the side of the blog. Okay. What I wanted to concentrate on is the simplest way for those genealogists to tell the story of grandmother Frances's recipes, of to share a memory, to take a certain photo and tell the story. Like there's quite a story about that particular photo. Because mother had always been told or always thought that the mother in this picture, our Grandma Frances's mother, had died being chased through the barn by a cow when she was pregnant a few years after Frances was born. And Frances is her only child. And it is true that this woman died while Frances was still a child, but she was. We have no evidence about that other than an anecdote. And in fact, the death of her mother occurred about the time she was ready to leave home, because her father immediately married, and the stepmother was not nice, apparently. Not like my wonderful stepmother. Does that make sense? All right, let me hear from panelists. What else would you do differently or add to in a basic blog post? Frank.
When we're talking about recipes, obviously I would like to add a scan of the original one.
Mm-hmm.
And then try, if necessary, to use a conversion. For example, some measurements aren't in there anymore.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Good point.
Or try to a conversion from, for example, milliliters to cups and teaspoons.
Yeah. Some people don't know that the abbreviation for teaspoon is TSP, and that for tablespoon it's TSB.
TBSP.
TBS.
TBSP.
Yeah.
I am really being challenged today. I do big T, capital T, and little t, but that needs to be explained, doesn't it?
Yep.
And since I've been doing the making of bread and taking classes, everything's in ounces. You weigh your flour, and it's so many ounces on a scale, a special kitchen scale. TBS, TSP. Thank you. It takes a village. Best to spell it out, because what would my granddaughter know? Yeah.
You need to convert as well.
Say again?
Sometimes you need to convert things as well, because what might be a cup in the US might not be a cup somewhere else.
Yeah.
Our cups in the UK are a different size to the US ones.
Yep.
And I quite often have to convert things if I'm using recipe from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. I was probably 65 years old when I learned that my measuring cups that were metal and had a little handle on the side were for dry measurement, like sugar, and that my Pyrex clear glass measuring cup with the little red lines on it was for liquid. So it's a miracle anything worked when I cooked before 65 years of age. Oh my gosh. Yeah, best to spell it out. Best to deal with oven temperatures. And I also learned that our ovens, every oven is different. The dial may say 375, but it's not 375. It could be 400, it could be 350, or any amalgamation thereof, I guess. Amalgamation, I don't know.
Let's not forget, the further back we are looking, some recipes even don't have measurements at all.
A
Yeah.
pinch
Or
of
have-
this, a dab
have-
of that.
Yeah.
Or have temperature and time scales that simply said, yeah, when it's done.
Well,
Yeah,
and it
put
depends
smile on it.
if you're cooking on a wood stove or in a wood oven. It depends on where the coals are in relationship to that pan that has the bread in it. Yeah, thumping the bread is a good way to tell if it's done. Oh my gosh. Anyway, do you see how easy it is to set up a blog? The hardest part was having to type correctly and
Yeah.
find a unique phrase for the name of the blog that wasn't already taken, so it could have a unique URL. Yeah, like explain lard or Crisco for that matter. Now there's Crisco that's oil and Crisco that's more like lard. Yeah. Now I just cook with butter or I don't make it. The oldest U.S. cookbooks also included folk recipes or remedies. Interesting. Yeah, I agree. Oven temperatures can vary. Yeah, what is oleo? Good point. Hello, Melinda out there. You know, we really must have some rabble rousers out there if it takes two of you to be monitoring on the YouTube side today. Thank you, Melinda. Okay, where are we on our docket? All right, we've done 101. Well, this is probably the easiest way to set up a blog. Now, I haven't talked to you about sharing the blog. I've only talked to you about letting Google search it. And so let me make a note where we left off so that in 2 weeks, I will talk about sharing the specific blog post, like on Substack or Facebook or your Instagram or whatever. And I will also talk about customizing the look of the blog, that background that was there by default. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to the docket to see what's next. Oh, I think we're going to leave the Substack till next time. Okay, Hillary, would that be a good idea?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to highlight that so I don't forget. So, Randy, we want to talk to you about something that MyHeritage is doing. Do you want to tell us about it? And we'll have everyone else go to the wings, Hillary.
Sure.
And I'll share the link.
Okay. Good.
Or get there. I'll share my screen 1 second. Okay.
So I wanted to talk about MyHeritage Scribe AI, the new tool that they announced at RootsTech.
Mm-hmm.
and it does a number of things. It transcribes a document. If, handwritten, whatever, could be letters, could be all other languages. They transcribe at least 50 languages, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in another language, they'll translate it to your language, and then it will help you interpret what the article's about,
Mm-hmm.
and it will offer you next steps to your research, things like that. So, if you can
Wow.
if you can share the blog post, I'd appreciate my blog post.
I got it.
Okay,
I will share it to the group.
good.
There we go.
And
So you tried it.
I tried it while he was talking about it. Yeah. Yeah. And so I had an Italian birth record. Okay, for three people. My grandson's second great grandfather was the second one on the list there, and
Okay.
and so then I just uploaded it, and it took 2 minutes, and it transcribed it in Italian,
Mm-hmm.
and then further down it translated it to English.
Okay.
Now the handwriting wasn't perfect, okay, but it did a pretty good job of it, and so I just put in here all the information. So it gives you historical context first. Told me it was an Italian civil birth register, and why the records were created, and that there was a marginal note on the bottom left of the left-hand page that gave the marriage record reference for Leone Morandi,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Wow, I like that.
so go further down, and so details mentioned identifies who's in it, and there are 3 records there, but for the one I was interested in, they picked the one I wanted. I don't know why. Probably because it was the most complete one on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And it told me the role and the birth date and the marriage date and the marginal note, and then who the father was and whatever details were in the record itself, and the mother. And then further down,
Okay.
you go further down.
Yeah.
And there's record 310 and record 312, the other 2 things that they aren't
On
mine,
the page. Yeah.
but that's what was on the page. And then the key findings.
Okay, I like the witnesses. There's
Yeah,
the fan club.
Well, it tells me everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it tells me the primary record is the birth of Leone Giovanni Morandi,
Mm-hmm.
and the date and the place, and then you can also find the records for these other 2 people. And then the suggested next steps. You should search for the marriage record of Leone and Maria Rosa Angeli. You should look for the birth records of Lorenzo Morandi, the father, and Domenica Angeli, the mother. You should explore the Antonati portal. You should check my heritage for existing family trees. So all that's helpful, useful. I've done all that, but they don't know that I've done that, because this is separate from my heritage. It's in the My Heritage website, but it isn't linked to the tree. Okay, to my tree. Although these people are in my tree. And then it gave me the full text transcription. So it gives you the background information first of what it found, and then it gives you the transcription.
Wow.
And it did all
Got
3
the
of them.
3 people. Yeah.
All 3 of them. And then it gives me the translation.
Okay. I didn't know you had Italian roots.
I don't. My grandsons do.
Oh, okay. All right,
Their
that
father,
makes sense.
their father has Italian grandparents, 3 Italian grandparents.
Okay. the handwriting was decipherable somewhat, in my opinion.
It was pretty good. I could transcribe it letter by letter if I had the time or took the time. Some letters are different, different. It's 130 years old now, the image, the record. So it's absolutely amazing. I've done a couple more. I've done a photograph. I did the land patent for my great grandfather Henry Carringer the other day, and it did that one perfectly. The Ancestry full text transcription service didn't, but the MyHeritage one did. So it's interesting. Gwen asked, would you get a native Italian speaker to check for accuracy? I could. I haven't. I don't have one. The one I have is 100 years old. It's her birthday this next weekend up in Petaluma. The boy's great-grandmother.
So, that Betty Lou does a lot of Italian research.
Yeah,
And she said it really helps that they didn't move around a lot in this case. So
not until 1900 or so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody there is saying, "Oh, hi, Deneen. I have a very dark image of a 1930s California marriage license. It's almost unreadable. Would love to try this."
Try it. It's free for anyone for a limited number. If you have a subscription, you can do a lot of them.
So is it limited number per month or per week or day?
I think it's limited if you don't have an account.
Period.
If you don't,
okay.
Yeah, if you don't have a subscription.
Okay. And then
all the details of all that are in the blog post that MyHeritage wrote, and I have I'll put a link in the chat when I'm done here.
Okay. So people are giving some ideas about lightening that marriage image. So thank you, Gwenny, for suggesting that to Deneen. And Frank also is saying you could play around with your image processing tools to make it look better. So I don't know if you have a Windows. Well, I've done it. I've actually fixed photos in PowerPoint because it has abilities. It's what was on a computer that I was using. It has the option to make it more yellow or more green or whatever. You can such a variety of default options to click on. If you're and almost every computer of like at the family history centers has PowerPoint, has anything Microsoft. Let's see. Okay, that's okay. I knew what you meant, Frank. Yeah. I think that it would probably be a good idea to look at some YouTube videos on how to do that. We could put that on our list next week or in 2 weeks to improve. Why don't you know my email address, Deneen? Why don't you send me the photo for Deneen? I can't spell tablespoons abbreviation, but I can remember without looking at your photo who has that handle. So send me the photo, and we'll try to play around with it. We could use Snagit, which I tend to use. I'll show you what happens with it in PowerPoint of all unbelievable number of options, etc. Okay, goodbye, Maria. Yeah, I did share the link. You did a better job because you put the label with it. It was all I could do to do the actual URL. So very good. Thank you. That's interesting. I'm glad I have an account at MyHeritage. So I only went to one class at RootsTech, and I want to ask, let's pull our panelists up. I was in the exhibit hall the whole time. I went to the second of Gregory Greek presentations, but I want to hear from you all what you liked. Raise your hand. I think Bill, you had a favorite one, or Hillary, you've got one, and I'll share the link, or Randy will share the link.
I actually did some watch parties with the Society of Genealogists because they'd organised a few.
Yes.
I was doing, they were looking at doing a lot of them DNA ones. They were good presentations, but from my point of view, some of them were not quite relevant to me. But they probably are going to be relevant to people if you've got if you're doing research more in the US. I know a lot of them were quite US centric. And I also enjoy what I really enjoyed is the one where they did the YouTubers, which was it was 4 of them. Amy,
So
2 Amy's.
explain what a watch party is. I know because the ride along folks did watch parties, but explain what it is.
What we did is we got together in a Zoom thing, and we watched the presentation either live or a recording. There was 1 or 2 that we did recordings because there were already another watch party going on at the same time, and I think they changed the timing of some things and that. But we tried to, as far as possible, watch them live, and then we had a discussion about what we'd watch later afterwards, which was not actually having the discussion with other people that are interested was really useful. It was nicer than just watching it myself. It was nice to hear what other people thought of it as well.
Okay, it is kind of good to hear somebody else's point of view because you may have zoned in on one part and they on another. And together then you have a pretty good discussion going on. Okay, I'm looking for the Wilmette one that somebody's mentioning, so I'll get that link. But let's see what who else wants to respond? Bill?
Well, yeah. So I think Miles and I both liked the same class. It was Kelly Connor Lear. It's a class called Question Every. Probably one of the best classes I've ever attended. She was very entertaining to watch. She was enthusiastic about the subject, but the handout that she did was just phenomenal. It was detailed. It was organized well. It's something that I'm going to be making copies of to use with with my research going forward. I'm trying to book Kelly now to speak to the Rochester Genealogical Society. She wasn't one that we'd seen before that we really liked, but I was this was one of them that we had in our watch party for the RootsTech ride along. I did quite a few of the watch parties. Some were very successful. This one we had a good group. Others not so much. But it made it a lot more fun. Not being on site, but being able to interact with other people during the session.
That is kind of fun. That is the fun of going to RootsTech. So in not being at RootsTech, you were creating that event of associating with other crazy people that love genealogy.
Yes.
All right.
And sitting there making comments back and forth, like we would if we were in the session.
Yeah, I hear you. So this is the wonder why those are all blanked out. Oh, they're not letting the chat be live. Okay, let's close that. So that is the question everything, sharpen evaluation, avoid assumptions, and clarify your writing. Okay, and you shared that link, I do believe, did you not, Randy?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Wilmette thing that somebody mentioned, Dave did several things, but which one was it? The full text search is the one that somebody suggested. So we'll click here. So I'll get that URL to share with y'all. Alrighty, here's the Wilmette. Okay, and then what else? Let me hear from my panelists. Anything else?
I just wanted to expand on what Bill said about the question everything talk. This was based on the genealogy standards, and it provided a list of great questions to go with. I think those questions would be great to use in AI when you're doing reports or something like that, just to post them in there and see if AI thinks that your report is addressing those genealogical standards appropriately.
Yeah, that I know they're going to be upgrading the genealogy standards. They had to update it to include DNA, the responsible use of DNA and right to privacy and all that. And with AI, they're going to be updating again to be sure to let people know that you're using AI. Yeah, very good. Let's see. Somebody's saying, Bill, be careful about using the handouts because of copyright. So we know that I know Bill's doing that. That is a good point, though. Even though these are publicly available, they are for your individual use. It's a little tricky at RootsTech because the speakers are required to make their handouts. Maybe you could speak to this more, Miles. You're required to make your handouts available forever on the RootsTech website. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, one of the things, when we submit our proposals after they've been accepted, they require us to put our handouts out there. I don't have a problem with it. I even put my slides out there because not all of my presentations get videoed, and so if somebody wants to look at it, it's helpful for them to be able to read the slides also. I think most of us all put a copyright statement in our handouts of some sort. But then it's up to the individual speakers. So if you contact the individual speakers, if you're interested in the handout, they may or may not give you permission to use them. Just make sure you contact the speakers before you decide to do a watch party and distribute the handout to everybody in your society.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Let me share my screen again. Because somebody, thank you for the mention. I'm a little behind. DNA evidence analysis with the AI. So Nicole and her mom are a dynamic duo. They really are. Pretty much anything they do is pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Okay. Anything else in this category? I'm going to go back and see what people have said. Melinda said she's always enjoyed the main stage. It provides multiple examples of how global and inclusive our genealogy community is. And wonderful to see this. Somebody like the upgraded AI. Oh, that was you.
Sorry.
That's okay. I think, let's see. Yeah, I think the reason I couldn't see anything, Barbara, is I hadn't logged in. That's interesting because you can, at the New York Times, you can read the comments, but you can't comment on the comments unless you're logged in. So the rules are different at different websites. And hi, really like the watch parties. Mr. Myrt and I are starting with the AI course that Steve Little and Mark Tucker are doing. It starts, I think it's tomorrow morning, the 17th. And it's for beginning AI users. Now, I've got probably approaching 2,500, 2,800 hours because I just use it a lot. So I'm not a beginner, but I'm taking it, and Mr. Myrt will be at his computer, I'll be at mine, so that we can have a cogent conversation between the two of us. I know what he's referring to when Gordon asked me a question about it, or he wants to talk about it. I'll be in the right frame of mind. I also signed up for, this is the beginning course. There is an intermediate, but but it's not on the docket. The next one starts in May, and that's advanced, and I'm taking that. And it's less expensive than taking GRIP.
Mhm.
And GRIP was for beginners, and I declined to do that because I'm going to go to Maggie for the first time. It's all virtual, so I'll survive. I always watch Steve and Mark, regardless of the level. They are so good. And Monta, thank you. I don't know I called you Melinda. Today I'm being challenged in my thinking, I guess. I have a few things on my mind. It's all good. Frank, of course you like digging up your German roots. So
Naturally.
yes. So somebody find the link and share that with me. So tell me what was good about this particular one.
What I liked was that it wasn't one speaker simply presenting all what I know over and over again, but having a conversation with another researcher, which helps as some may stumble upon problems, like having border changes, spelling errors, etc.
Mm-hmm. Boy, those are challenges. Definitely. Well, this is good to know and to see their faces and recognize who they are as researchers and public speakers on this topic. Let's see. This is one that Valerie brought up. Have we got a link for this one? Let me share this one as soon as we can. Complexities in indigenous genealogical research. Now, I wish I could have attended that. I'm currently in a course provided by Salt Lake Institute of Genealogy. It meets on Wednesday mornings, and it's specific to the Pacific Northwest, which includes Oregon, Washington, and part of Idaho. And my particular focus is to find out more about the Coast Salish people, including the Samish that were the indigenous nation of people that inhabited this island and several surrounding islands for literally thousands of years. And they can tell that from old artifacts. Have we got that link?
I'm working on it. It's hard.
I know it's hard, and I appreciate that. And I couldn't type it and look and speak about it because that I will definitely make a point.
It's under
Valerie,
Native American.
Just put it in the private chat.
thank you very much. Very much. So this is definitely on my docket to watch. Let me share my screen again. And I'm glad that they are, as someone once said just earlier, how inclusive RootsTech has become of late, that they are not just white European, that we're dealing with other groups, and there really are no others. We're all in it together. Yeah. Thank you. I want to watch that. Part of I think the biggest challenge for me is that it's an oral history. It's not a written history like the white settlers on this island who came in the 1840s, late 1840s. And thank heavens some artifacts have turned up that have been dated by reputable folks to prove the oral history of the length of time, because there are specific ways that Coast Salish people do things compared to the late arriving white group. And so the artifacts that have survived from that time period are completely different. I think that's a redundant sentence, but I think you get the point. And Sherry says, well, I don't have Japanese. I was glad to see several sessions available on that ancestry. And that reminds me, Sherry, I do have a notation because there was a Japanese booth with a fellow from Japan who specializes in the Japanese records once you know the location of ancestors in Japan. And he told me something interesting. The concept of what happened to the records with Nagasaki and Hiroshima being obliterated. He said those that lived in the surrounding areas filled in what they knew for about 2 to 3 generations, but it is by no means complete. But it lets you know, I mean, this is what we saw in Sherman's March to the Sea, where there was burning of courthouse records, of land records and probate and things like that. You got to believe that part of the recovery for that area in South Carolina, etc., North Carolina, Georgia, was to reconstruct the land records because it was ownership, and you had your copy, hopefully, or you had enough neighbors that could swear it out and say this was true. You know, war is a terrible thing. Anyway, how's our time? We're doing well. Is there anything left on the docket? I think we're getting there. I think we did it.
More or less.
Yeah, I've scrolled through it. I think we did it. I thought we'd take longer on the 101, but I really wanted to keep blogging down to the very slimmest, barest necessities. All right. Well, I'm going to call it, which is good because I need to take Mr. Myrt over. He caught a cold and came back with that and isn't winning the battle. So we're going to have to go over and take a moment. There's something about Rev War. What do you mean? 7 minutes and a question about the Rev War?
The full 3 has the Revolutionary War pension files, full text indexed.
Oh, that's a big deal. All right. I do have the link for that somewhere. If you could give me that.
Yeah, it's in the
it's in the docket.
It's in the docket. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can find it.
If you could just find it. So this is a very big deal. As we're preparing for the 250 years since the American Revolution, it is a big deal that fold3.com has applied AI. Can you give me the link privately or in comments? Well, I need it privately. I inadvertently closed my Google Sheet. It's been one of those days, which means the rest of the day will be great. And it goes to show live is a lot different than pre-recorded where you can edit things out. Okay, thank you very much, Randy. I appreciate it. So it is a separate this is owned by Ancestry, but it is a separate subscription. And to find the index totally available and transcribed, it's going to help you a great deal. Typically, and I think that Valerie will share my thoughts on this, we tend to think of looking at DAR applications, Daughters of the American Revolution, as well as the SAR, Sons of the American Revolution. Although the DAR doesn't accept Sons of the American Revolution as a source because it's secondary. It's not the original document. And thank you, Sherry, for saying you loved Krista Cowan's story about searching for one of her Rev War ancestors and found him in 14 other pension files as well. Now, that's kind of interesting because if something happened to if your guy didn't get a pension, because there are different time periods you were allowed to have a pension for if you were injured, and then, oh, you're just old now and we honor you, but you weren't injured. Go ahead, Randy, say something there.
I poked around in that the other day.
Yes.
And with what I saw was that if you had an officer who you're searching for, that's when they're in 14 other pension files or some number like that, because they're in Norman Seaver's company in John Smith's regiment, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you knew that, okay, search for the officer. If your guy was just a soldier and didn't have a pension, but go to this folder file and search for the officer that he searched under, okay? And you may find those 14 other pension files describe the service of the person who got the pension, but your guy participated in the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
This is a whole new category that we have, I don't think we've discussed but once or twice. And maybe back in the days when Mondays with Myrt was a hangout on air. That was a long time ago. So we ought to do a little bit more work there and consider that. Yeah, excellent. Thank you for the insight. And I'm glad we mentioned that. Guys, thank you for bearing with old Myrt today. Congratulations to Hillary. Congratulations to Miles. We got our picture taken together in the booth at the Family History Guide. And because I had asked you to come get me when you were available, and 3 or 4 times you had to come by, and I was helping somebody figure out what they're going to do with their blog. So I appreciate your patience. Thank you, Frank, for your insight about the German class.
You're welcome.
Ellen, you are my timer, and I'm ahead of time today. Bill, thanks for telling us a little bit about what it looked like at a watch party. You and Hillary did 2 different kinds of watch parties. And Randy, as always, thanks for sharing your AI insights and checking out what was happening with the new option over there at MyHeritage. And basically, there's nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle. You're not so retired and kind of sleepy this morning, Dear Myrtle, friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.